Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. I want to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
Good morning, and good morning. Hopefully everybody's doing a wonderful, wonderful Friday. Well, I know, because usually Fridays people are like, yay. Well, you know what? Every day is yay. Every day of the week is yay. We have to remember that when you wake up in the morning and you go, that's a yay, because that means you're breathing, you're talking, you're moving, you're able to start another day to move in your goals, your objectives, whatever you're trying to do. So that's powerful right there. I always tell people, if there's any inspiration message or something that you're trying to say that's going to like spark you up, just getting up every day. And we really understand that more and more, don't we? I mean, it's been like 2 years and some months going into, it's going to go into 3 years that we've been dealing with this, I say challenge. I don't want to give it so much credit or so much power because it has been crazy for these 2.5 years. But like I said, if you're waking up and you're saying to yourself, wow, I'm here, then, that's another day that you can move on and say, I can do something and make a difference in somebody's life. So welcome to the Coaches Lounge with me, Barbara Beckley, and some wonderful, fabulous coaches that I bring on. Now, the reason I started this particular show under this network, because I was saying to myself, I interview authors, I interview, speakers, I interview nonprofits, which is wonderful. We have another nonprofit show that comes on every Thursday night now called Heal Humanity. But I was like, but what about the coaches? What about the people that gets in people's life that tells them over every day, tells them, okay, you can do this, or let's try something different, or let's massage something in what you're doing in your business. Those are the real live, wonderful, wonderful people. Because think about it, when you have a coach in your life, they are moving you to the next level in what you're trying to do in your life. So I always tell people, everybody, especially if you're in business, you should have a coach, and not just one coach. Sometimes you need 2 or 3. Myself, I have 2 coaches. I have a coach for speaking because I do a lot of speaking engagements. So I need to have somebody on me about speaking. And then I have a business coach that helps me with my business aspect of it. And, sometimes you need a health coach, you need a financial coach, and the list goes on. So I always tell people I want to bring the coaches on here. And it's any type of coach I bring on to make sure that you understand what they do, how they can help you, and then reach out to them. So I always ask, when you listen to them, we have these conversations. If you see something that you say to yourself, I like what she's doing, or I like what they're doing as a coach, I love what they can do something for me in my life. Reach out. If you don't see their information right away when we're talking, reach out to me, because I have everybody's information to make sure that you get to that particular person, because it's all about helping you out. Now, I always we're talking about inspiration. So I'm going to do my inspiration opening, and then what we're going to do is bring on this wonderful, fabulous, I call all the lady queens, Queen Diamonds, Carla Cross. She's going to be coming on. We're going to have a conversation about what she does for others. And you're going to make sure that you get a chance to know her a little bit. So this one I have, it says, as Oprah says, live your most powerful life. You can begin this process with the knowing that you are pure love. Loving yourself means accepting yourself with all of your flaws and imperfections. Does anybody have an imperfection or flaw in their life? I know I do. I'll admit it. Just the way you are now, but love yourself. You cannot give love to someone else unless you first love and accept yourself. Always talking about self-love. It is not possible. You create the life that mirrors your deeper beauty. You have amazing talents and gifts that only you can give to the world. Today, trust, be grateful for the beautiful miracle in you. Yes. So everybody, no matter whatever happens today, remember you have to do what? You have to love you. Because once you love yourself, you can love others. If you don't understand you and don't say that what's going on with you, no matter if you did something wrong, you messed up. Hey, every day I always tell myself I'm going to mess up at least 3 or 4 or 5 times per day. But guess what? You get back up, you tell yourself you're learning the lesson from it, and you move forward. Because you have to continue to love you. Because when you love yourself, then you can love others because you understand that. I know we all heard that before, but sometimes we got to put it in action, right? We got to put it in action. So with that, I basically going to make sure that we just start the show. Here we go. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Barbara.
How you doing?
It really is morning for me.
You guys. I know you're waking up very early, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, you'll see more light come in as we go.
Well, Lady Queen, I truly appreciate you coming on the show. I know last week there was some hiccups, and I'm just glad that you were able to, move around your schedule and early in the morning, like you said, because it's like 6:15 your way. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
To come on to the show. So you are so welcome, and I truly appreciate you, and I know the audience does as well.
Oh,
so yeah, so I want to start. So this is, like I said, this is about getting to know you. And like I said, welcome to the Coach's Lounge. And my really primary biggest thing that I like to do is introduce people to different coaches around the world and what they do for other people in life. So if you could start off by telling what you do, and then we can go from there.
Sure. I've since about age 32, when I stumbled into real estate. I come from a closely related field. I always tell people music. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit, about how I think different my approach is, since I started tickling the ivories when I was 4. And then I took lessons, piano first, and different teachers, and I can talk about that later. And then I started playing flute in 6th grade. So I have a bachelor's in piano performance and a master's in music theory. But and I was teaching in college. When we moved to Seattle for my husband's job, it was the end of the Boeing slump. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a big sign that said, "Will the last person leaving turn out the lights?" So because Boeing, had so many people they laid off, the whole area was actually shrinking. So at any rate, my husband went into real estate. I decided to try it. And I'll tell you, Barbara, what I found was, and you're talking about motivation and inspiration, music is wonderful. And I've played all my life on all kinds of music. But probably nobody ever died for lack of music. But they sure do have to have shelter to exist. And so when I went into real estate, I found I was so inspired because I was able to help people with this basic security issue that was so important. And I knew nothing. I had no training. I would say that my boss said, "Got any questions? Ask me." I was so dumb. I didn't know the questions, much less anything. I mean, come on, and you talk about making mistakes. I made every mistake you could make, but I sold 50 houses my first year out of dire need, and I just loved it. So at any rate, so then I started, because of my background, because I'd started teaching piano and flute in high school, I just kept, I went in real estate. They asked me, you want to teach in our new training school? And I said, sure. I didn't know what I was doing, but I said, sure. Right. So I started that. So then I started teaching nationally, and I've been a member of National Speakers Association for, oh gosh, over 20 years. And I started writing books, and I will talk about this latest one because it's pretty cool and just won a big prize. But I found that also really fascinating. I think, Barbara, you know what you said about coaches, everybody should have a coach? I never really realized that, like now, because I had a coach from the time I was 6, my piano coach.
Yeah, yes.
And all kinds of different music coaches, because that's what music teachers do. They coach. It's a true meaning of coaching. So at any rate, I just kind of like, yeah, and I'm almost always had a coach. Right now I have a fantastic coach, the guy that co-wrote most of the guerrilla marketing books. Any of you guys that have been in business for a long time, who those books are internationally famous.
Wow.
But I really learned a lot from Orville Ray, plus he's a delight to work with. But what I found was, as I went in from sales into management and then into ownership and regional ownership, was that when I was screening new owners for the franchise, they one of my questions was, have you ever had a coach? Because we expected these new owners and these new managers to be coached. You know what, Barbara? The vast majority said no, they'd never had a coach of any type. I always say sports or anything. Most of them never had. And here's what's really interesting. To me, it was, at least, they took coaching to be negative. I think it was fear. I don't want somebody to tell me I'm not perfect. I don't want somebody to tell me how to do it. I'm good enough. And what I found teaching and coaching adults is they're very reticent to start something unless they think it's perfect. Like when I taught piano to kids, I'd say, take your 3 fingers and plop them down on the keys, and they would, and it didn't matter what it sounded like. You couldn't get them to stop, right? I mean, you didn't have to be perfect. So I do that with adults. I started teaching adults in graduate school, and they would start to put their hands on the keys. They'd stop and they go, Are you qualified? Well, shoot, I had a bachelor's degree in piano performance and I'd placed since I was 4. Yeah, I was qualified. But that wasn't the point. It was they were scared they wouldn't be perfect.
Yes.
So one of
That's
the
so
things that
true.
we coaches have to
Mm.
recognize is adults have a lot of fear about being coached,
Mm.
and that fear that they can't get any better than the first time.
Mm.
So they don't start because they want to be perfect. So one of the things we coaches have to do is to take those barriers away and start them with something they can win at. Have you ever gone to a class or been coached by somebody who was very bright, but had such a complicated way of going about things or threw so much at you at once, you couldn't do it?
Mm-hmm.
So we coaches have to know, just like if I were to teach you to play the flute, I would not hand you the whole flute and say, make a sound. I just hand you the head joint, the first part of the flute, and I teach you how to make a sound. That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we know as good musician coaches how to start somebody so that, especially adults, they'll be able to win out the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what you were talking about, inspiration and excelling and motivation,
Mm-hmm.
is adults, especially I consult a lot of real estate companies. And one of the challenges we always have is everybody and their brother wants to go into real estate. They say they don't want a boss, they want to be their own boss. Unfortunately, they've never created their own self-disciplines. So they don't like bosses because they don't want somebody telling them what to do, but then they don't know how to tell themselves what to do.
That's true. That is so true.
Yeah, how would they, you know? So it's a challenge to start them in the business because we know we need structure, checklists, and systems. Just like I need music. If I were to teach you piano, I would teach you to, at some point, to read music, because without reading music, you couldn't go very far. So, but I'd have to teach you to read music in the right order so I wouldn't overwhelm you. And you could start playing tunes right away. So you go, hey, this is really great. I can play some tunes already. That remotivates you. So we need to help people at the beginning maintain self-esteem. One of the ways I've always done that in real estate is to find something they're good at. Like the other day, I was in an office I'm consulting to, and I ran into this one guy, and quite frankly, he doesn't do much business. In fact, during COVID, he basically just kind of, we would say in music, laid out. That means you don't play. So I ran into him and started talking. He goes, Carla, I got a couple transactions going. And I'm like, well, Bruce, that's really good. And I said, Bruce, what's your background? Because we hadn't found this out, and we need to find it out from every agent with us. And he said, oh, I have a degree in communications.
Oh.
Well, he had said some things in the meetings that led me to believe he had some kind of expertise in training, speaking, something like that, but I didn't know what it was. Well, anyway, so I said to him, Bruce, I would love to have you join a task force I'm putting together about mastering certain specific things, because you really know this, you've got this great background. He's like, oh, okay. So you tap into what people feel good about already, because especially when they go into real estate, they think it's easy. I hate, the worst service we've ever had probably is these reality shows, where it looks like all you have to do is be pretty.
There's a few of them out there. I was like, that's all you have to do?
Exactly.
I'm like, no, there's more than that.
And the clients are always really nice, and the homes look great, and that's, everybody does what you want, and you never have any problems. Oh, sure, that's real estate for you. And so it's just it should be called Unreality Show, right?
Unreality.
Yeah, let's call it Fantasy Island, right? So anyway, so agents come into real estate, they don't know all the things they have to learn and do, and it's, boy, I mean, they are in the business, they are a business person. So by their self-esteem, they start out like, what are you going to do for me? And what, blah, blah, blah. And then after about a month, they're like, oh, I feel really terrible. So I wrote this book that kind of brings me to, I just wrote this book called Launching Right in Real Estate, What They Won't Teach You in Pre-License School. And it just won a national award from Axiom Business Books as one of the last year. Thank you. That was really cool.
That is very cool. Yes.
I got to tell you guys, I've written like 7 books before. I've never submitted one for an award. I didn't even think about it. This is what my coach said, Carla, you need to submit these for some awards. So rather than arguing with my coach, because I figured, I respect the guy, I'm paying him a lot of money, I will do it. And I did it.
And you got it.
That easy.
Now, did you know about the award? Did you know that there was kind of like you can put your book out for awards? Did you even know that?
Barbara, I was faintly aware of that from reading things like it would say author, award winner or, whatever, but I never paid any attention to it. Yeah. That's all I knew was the book awards, but I never thought even about submitting. So anyway, the whole idea is when we go into business for ourselves, there are a whole lot of skills that we need to put to work. And most of us don't have those skills. Now, I come from a background in music. What in the heck does that have to do with it? Well, for one, I certainly have to have organization skills. I have to understand process. I have to be willing to put off playing a concert in Carnegie Hall when I'm just learning piano. Mm-hmm. So I have to put off gratification for a long time. I have to be willing to lose. I've gone into some adjudications where, I didn't do as well as some of the other people. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to lose. Well, all those things are exactly the same as going into any business for yourself. So as a coach, I recognize all those things. Yes. And I help people first find their self-esteem, find their skills, find their talents. And then I attempt to help them apply that in whatever they're doing. As I said, my specialty is real estate and affiliates, meaning mortgage people, title people, escrow people. I do a lot of train the trainer kind of things too.
Wonderful.
So that's basically how I've gotten to this. And the other thing I would say, Barbara, is generally, and again, I've been a member of National Speakers Association in our chapter a long time, and I've heard and I know and I've lived this, that several ways of communicating your message are better than one. Mm-hmm. So if you're a speaker, perhaps you can, like you're doing podcasts or doing recordings of some type. Or how about taking your speech and making it a course?
Yes.
How about writing a book?
Yeah.
And I know some people are like, no, I just do this. Well, I'll tell you what, we went through COVID and nobody was getting speaking engagements. But I was making money because I have several online courses. I have several books. I have several products and things like that. So my income kept coming in and I wasn't held hostage to no stage
no
appointments. Yeah. So what would you like to ask me or find out more about, or what did I say that you would like to comment on?
Well, I love the fact, first of all, thank you that was wonderful. You just basically made the whole definition of basically what a coach does and how they help people in life, not just what you do in real estate, but just in general, sure. And understanding that. I love how you took your transferable skills, the skills that you do as music, and you took that on, you said, okay, this could be transferred over to what I do for coaching people in real estate and using those skills to help them move in their life. And then also when you stated the fact that you got to start from somewhere. And a lot of people, especially us as adults, I know we could be bad at times. Well, I know how to do. You don't have to tell me. You know how we get into that whole thing, but there's a deeper thing there when we start saying, "Well, I really don't need. I know how to do this and that." It's more so, like you said, that fear is there instead of
Mhm.
showing and saying, "You know what? Be vulnerable and say, you know, I really don't know, Carla. I need you to guide me in this." It's more so like some people put that little struck fight, like, no,
Mhm.
I know this. You don't tell me this, or whatever. And I used to be that way a long, long time ago. Thank God it's been a long, long time ago. Because I really, that's why I did this show, because I really know how important it is to have a coach in your life, because I
Mhm.
wouldn't be where I'm at to a certain point with it, like you said, the podcast and being on virtual stages
Mhm.
and just doing what I do. And then I have a day job too in insurance, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't coached and trained. So I tell people all the time, be nice. Appreciate the coaches.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
beat them up.
Yeah, I
So,
have a poignant story about that. And when you were talking about, people resisting coaches, and too, there are all kinds of coaches. Everybody, especially in real estate now, everybody calls themselves a coach. And basically, what they're thinking is, I have a lot of information, and so I want to tell somebody that. And that's also how not very successful speakers go about it. I know all this, and you need to know. He says it's like, you're not going to
that's
sell
not how
that,
you're doing it. Yeah, that's not
right?
go well.
So, yeah. So we coaches have to develop skill at figuring out how to help an adult take their natural barriers down so that we can help them. Because just saying, you've got to do this, you do this, it might all be true. But as I always tell people in real estate, we always have to tell the truth attractively. Because the truth, for instance, if you overprice your home, it won't sell. That's the truth. But what the seller thinks is we just want an easy buck.
Mm, mm,
So we have to learn how. And one of the notes I wrote down before we started talking was that we always need to remember, this is true of any sales and coaching, to attach the why or the benefit, the why.
mhm.
Because we adults, if we know the why, then like you and I will be having a conversation
Mhm.
and about into why.
Mhm.
Because my coaching client will not realize why why something's important unless, if it is important, unless I have a good why.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
that's a lot of it.
Oh,
The
that's
other,
important.
excuse me, go ahead.
No, I said that. I was just saying that I agree with you. That's important because you need to know the why, and then why should they know? Because I
Yeah,
always say, people's all about them. Okay, it really is. I know that sounds kind
yes,
of like, really, it's all about them. Yes, it is, because they want it.
yes,
You
it
have to
is.
explain to them what's the benefit, what's the features of what you're trying to tell them, and then they'll
Mhm.
understand more. They'll accept it. They'll receive it better
Yes,
when they know. Yeah.
yes. Or if they reject it, they're not going to blame us because they have the whole picture. I'll give you just a little poignant story because it's really been on my mind. And when I have these, I go, how can I help solve this? There's an agent that left an office to go to another office, and the other office said, we'll provide you a coach and we'll pay for the coach. And so she went because she said the first office she got lonely. This is during COVID. She got lonely and she got no help. So she left. Nothing has changed. She's still lonely. That coach didn't do her much good because the coach has no relationship with her. And it was a very
Mhm.
short-term thing. So at any rate, so I had lunch with you the other day and I asked her about the coach. She told me, and she says, all the coaches tell me I should lead generate. I know that. I don't want a coach to tell me that. I want a mindset coach. Well, what I know from talking to other people who have tried to help her is she has resisted lead generating. Now, in real estate, if you don't go out and find people, you're going to die. You're not going to make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you reject that, what you're saying is, I don't want to sell real estate. I just want to do all the rest of it. So, but obviously, no one has helped her take down that barrier that's okay with her. She specialized, she loves horses, and that's how we kind of have a connection. I love horses too. And so she loves listing properties, horse properties, and dealing with those people. Ta-da! All she needs to do is find those people and find out if she can help them.
Wow.
That's all she needs to do.
Wow.
It's called lead generating.
Yes.
But what she hasn't figured out is that she would be a huge benefit to them. Who else could help them better? Right? I mean, that's what I didn't do a good job. I didn't get that far with her at lunch. But I'm going to go back and talk to her and just ask her who could she share her gifts with? Rather than you got to call people, you got to talk to people. Same thing, but it's a different view of it.
Yeah, you approached it differently where it responds to her and how it makes her feel, her comfort level. And that's genius right there. I always tell people, if you can find that in a person, you'll be able to pull them in where they are not like, you need to do this. I told you to do, no, there's none of that. And they're like, then they don't even really realize that you just coached them. They don't realize that. Yeah. You just coached them into something because now you found out what their likes are, and you brought it into what you're trying to teach them. Awesome.
Well, and there's some point where when I've tried all these different things and none of them work, what I want to happen is that person to come to me and say, Carla, I know what the business is now. I know what I need to do, and I'm not going to do it. I'm getting out. And that's really good, because instead of them feeling terrible that they're failing, because they do. Can you imagine how your self-esteem goes in the dumper when you haven't sold anything for a long time? So instead of that, if someone rejects all these things, and I've done a good job at laying out the sales process, and I still can't find something they're willing to do, I want them to come to me and say, I realize now I'm not cut out for this. I don't like it. Just like I told you, Barbara, when I went into real estate, it was really hard for me because I knew nothing, didn't even have a full-time manager. Most of the agents in the office were failures. They never sold anything. 2 of them sold a lot, but I never saw them. Why? Because they were all selling. They're out selling, right? So I had some very poor role models in the office, but I started selling real estate right away, and they hated me because I was selling real estate, not just looking at pretty houses and eating food, right?
Like we said before.
Exactly.
But Carla, I want, because right now of time, could you? I want to take myself down for 30 seconds, and I want you just to give anything that you want to leave for the audience, and then we'll get back up, and then we'll get your information so they can contact you. So just 30 seconds.
Sure.
Be right back.
Okay. Well, I highly recommend with Barbara that you find a coach that you can trust, because when you find that coach you can trust, then you're going to make great strides. Because as Barbara said, and I think we've talked about, your self-esteem, maintaining and building it. Maxwell Maltz, who wrote Psycho-Cybernetics, I'm going to wildly paraphrase, but he said that you won't take a risk and be motivated without an elevation of self-esteem. So in other words, if you're going to do something risky, like if I'm going to play a concert and I'm getting ready to walk out there on the stage with this concert grand with thousands of people in front of me, I'm scared. What do I have to do? To take the risk, I have to give myself messages to raise my self-esteem, so I feel not only am I capable, but I'm going to give them the gift of that music. So that would be my big message to you, is find a coach that has the skills to give you what you need in order to take down your barriers and get to that next level, because your self-esteem. I'm not talking about ego. I am not talking about bragging at all. I'm talking about feeling good about yourself, that you're you. Just like Barbara said earlier, you have to love yourself first. So that's my suggestion to you. And two, if you'd like to know more, you certainly can come to my website. It's just carlacross.com, and there's a place you can contact me, and I would love to talk to you further.
Wonderful. Carla, thank you so much for being so patient with me, but it's so exciting that we finally got you on the show and you able to give your expertise. And thank you for being just rocking, being a coach and helping others get to that level and what they're trying to do in real estate.
You're welcome, Barbara, and it's great meeting you too. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Well, you take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
My name is Serena Buffalino. I am the founder of Help Heal Humanity. My career started off as a special education teacher. When my students found out that there were kids in this world that did not have the right to go to school, inspired them. The concept behind the Haiti School Building Project was a small handful of youth in Toronto would help a small handful of youth here in Haiti. The Haiti School Building Project finally opened up last year, September 2018. It has successfully been running for 7 months now, and what I have seen is nothing shy of beautiful. One person with the support of others can literally transform the planet.
Wonderful, wonderful. That was such an awesome interview with Miss Carla Cross. I know I love bringing back the coaches and just getting their opinions on other things, but see how important it is to have a coach in your life. See how important it is to get that help. Don't resist. Don't push back. I always tell people I learn something new every single second of the day. And I'm so glad I do that, because I keep telling myself, if I'm not learning things and growing and having people come in my life to teach me certain things, then why am I even here? Think about it. It's like, if there's not no certain level where you're like, okay, I know everything in life now, so I'm good. No, that's sad when you don't open yourself up. So we're going right into, because this is a full pack show today, because I love bringing the coaches, and we have Mr. G. Scott Graham. He is going to be coming up. He's going to be talking about what he does to help people make a difference in their life. He's a business coach, and he's a career coach. And I think a lot of people need to listen to that. Even if you're in a career, if you're in a business, sometimes it's good to have those coaches to kind of get you to understand, okay, if you're still doing what you like to do, or you're pushing more into it, or you want to do something different within that career. So there's always something to talk about, having somebody on the sidelines to kind of give you those little reminders, little massages, whatever you have to do in life to move forward. So let's bring on Mr. G. Scott Graham. I know he's wonderful. He has a lot of good things to tell us. And remember, don't be resistant. Listen and reach out to me to get to these coaches if you feel like it's something that you need in your wheelhouse in your life. So here we go.
Good morning, Barbara. How are you?
Good. First, I want to just thank you so much for being patient. I know last week it was and I said, no, I got to bring them back. Please tell me they can come next Friday. So
I'm so grateful to be here. And those glitches happen in life, right? Pick something in your life: the internet, your relationships, your car, your job. We get glitches all the time.
Yes, we do. But we learn and we grow from them, and then we have wonderful people like you to understand. So that's great. So so now it's G Scott. Is it the G? What the G means?
Goofy.
Interesting. Goofy. See, I'm loving this conversation already.
There's when I started referring myself as Scott, I didn't know this, but my background is in therapy, and I was working as a counselor. I was just getting into the field. This was in the 1980s, and it turns out that there are, more likely than not, people that have the middle name Scott tend to want to abbreviate their first initial, like F. Scott Fitzgerald. Like, I don't know what that is. I didn't know that. That's not why I did that. I was just not happy with my first name. And so I go by my middle name with that G period, which makes it difficult when I fill out applications, because they want just your first name without a period or anything else. Right?
Yeah. How do you get around that? I mean, I'm just kind of curious. How do you get around that? Because, like you said, they want that first name.
I just put it all together. I smush it all and get rid of the period. So my name is like Scott. That's what. Then I can tell when marketers are calling me that got my name from something, because they're like, I'm looking for Scott. I'm like, all right, clearly you don't even know who I am.
You don't know who I am. I love it, love it. Well, Mr. G. Scott Graham, and I love how you did that. I mean, when you think about it, it's like, wow, that could be like on the New York Times post. That's kind of
well, and maybe that's why I've written so many books. I've written 15 books now. I'm working on my 16th, and so maybe it's because I have initial of G at the beginning of my name that has compelled me to write books. I don't know.
Well, I want to get right into it, because this is, first of all, welcome to the Coaches Lounge with me. And I started this because I'm always, I see interviews with, like celebrities or authors and speakers and all that stuff. And I never really seen a show or a talk show or even just an interview show that's really talking a lot with coaches. That's basically just really primary is speaking to the coaches, the one that helps the speakers and the authors and the nonprofits, and the list goes on to get to where they need to go. So I feel like we need to, you're a gem. You're a gem. And I know Carla, I just speaking to her, she's a gem, and all the coaches I bring on. So we need to make you shine. And that's why I started this. So I want to get right into, first of all, what type of coach what you are, and then get what the reason why you got into your profession or what you do.
So I market myself primarily as a business and career coach, but the reality is, for any coaching that anybody does, is that nobody just brings that slice of their life to coaching. I have some friends that are coaches and trying to figure out, who am I, what do I do, and what do I want to do, and I encourage them to look at two perspectives. What do you want to do, and what type of coaching do you do, and who are you fishing for? Because those are two different questions, right? And so you could get way into the deep muck with folks and be an executive coach. Or you could, end up talking about career when someone comes to you as a life coach. It's because it's all mixed together. You just can't go, I'm only going to focus on this piece, because how we are at work influences how we are at home, and how we are at home influences how we are at work. I haven't met a single person who has said, my goal is to become a successful businessman who is also a fat, divorced, miserable, freaking alcoholic.
Oh, Lord.
They might be out there. I don't know. But I haven't met anybody that has that as their, my goal is to grow my career and ignore the lives of my children to the point that they no longer want to speak with me and won't even let me see my grandchildren. Nobody says that. Who says that? Right?
I love what you said. You're right. It's like when you're a coach, you got to be ready for, like you said, all of it put together, because because you can't just separate that. You're right.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
I can't tell you how many clients I've had that after, a couple months of coaching, there's like this, they slip, right? They build this relationship. Your last podcast guest was talking about the importance of trust and relationship. And over time, you build that trust and relationship, and then inevitably somebody slips, like something comes out, like I drink too much, or, I'm gay and my wife doesn't know it, or some other little piece that you're that's really important information. I wish I knew that 2 months ago, but I'm glad I know it now.
Took a while to kind of get out there. That was kind of
right, because that trust had to, they had to develop that trust with somebody, like your previous guest talked about.
Yeah, and then once you find that out, I think, well, I know, because like I said, I'm a coach too, it's just like you. And once you find that trust and they trust you and they start opening up more, then you kind of understand, okay, now I know what route that we need to go down now, because now that explains something at the beginning that wasn't really clicking. And now that they open up to something else, you're like, in your mind, you're back in your mind as a coach, you're saying, oh, okay, now some things connect on why, we haven't moved in this area. They're not feeling comfortable in this area because this is what's going on now. They just told me some things.
Yeah. That's exactly it, Barbara.
Yeah. So now, far as, because, like you said, career business coach, I wanted to ask you, so what made you decide to do this type of coaching? Because I always tell people, I know, we tell ourselves, oh, we're this, okay, now we're this coach. And sometimes no, it kind of went through this avenue in my life. And then, I decided to do this. So what made you get to this point?
It was really clearly a marketing decision more than anything else. How do I want to be found? And not just because the reality is that anybody could be a coach, right? And the truth is, this is the kind of sad truth. I've been in this profession. So this has not been a hobby career for me. Meaning, lots of people, have their day job and then they launch their little coaching practice for many, many, many years. And it's really kind of a hobby business, right? They might as well be making ashtrays at night at home and then selling them, right? And this wasn't for me. I've been working just as a coach, my only supply of income since 2006. And so when I made that decision and looked to market myself, I remember people pushing me and said, you got to pick. What kind of coach are you? And I'm like, well, I'm a coach for everything. I help people with all their problems. And then when I look back at my degrees and experience, the things I would bait the hook with, if I'm fishing for clients, metaphorically speaking, if I'm fishing for clients, what would I put the hook on? I mean, I have a master's degree in business. I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor. I have, experience running a business. And so those pieces lend themselves towards putting yourself out there as a business coach. Just like, somebody is not going to want, like if I was a realtor, I would be hooking up with your last guest. Because she's a successful realtor, right? And she probably does all kinds of coaching around that stuff. But the way people think, the glasses they put on is, I want to be a better realtor, so I want to find a realtor that's going to help me. I want to lose weight, so I want to find a person who's, lost a bunch of weight or is running marathons, because they're going to help me move in that direction. So it was clearly a marketing decision as to how I wanted to be found.
So now, far as, because I know, a lot of people, when, you get a business coach or career coach, what is like the first thing, like when you meet, like when somebody comes to you and they say, you know what, I really need coaching in the area of my business. How can you help? Where do we start? So what would you be the first thing to tell them?
So before somebody starts with me, even if they are 100% convinced, like, I want to start with you next week, I'm ready to go, I tell them they need to take me out for a test drive. And that is, one of the things that coaches, unfortunately, are taught, which I think is horrible. And I talk about that in one of my books about what to look for as a coach, is that coaches are taught this kind of, I'm going to say it, I'm probably going to get hate mail for saying it. It's a skeevy, manipulative sales technique for people who are desperately looking for a coach. So they have this kind of funnely conversation. Other coaches out there probably are like, oh yeah, they have this funneled conversation, and the end result is sign on the dotted line to be a coach with me. And they usually call that a discovery call or some other piece. It's this very specific structured conversation with the end result, sign on this. It's kind of like, going and buying a timeshare. Right? It feels that.
Yeah, those are, yeah.
And so I do, even when someone's interested, I say, you know what? You would never, ever, ever buy a car without taking it out for a test drive. Who would do that? In fact, you probably have gone and test drove cars that you thought were perfect for you. Yeah. And you've got behind the wheel and you're like, whoa, this isn't the car for me, right? You thought it was perfect. It looked great in the ads. The salesperson, when you strolled into the automobile dealership, gave you this really nice song and dance. And then you get behind the car, hold the wheel, and you're like, I can't drive this. So
that's so true. That's so true.
So I say, folks, any coach worth their weight is going to do a test drive with you. And so what's a test drive? It's a free coaching session where I really do coaching. They go on my website, they register just like a regular client. They fill out some pre-work about what they expect out of the call, what their goals are, baby pre-work, not in-depth stuff. And then I do a 30-minute session, and I don't talk about me at all. It's just a coaching session, period. In fact, one of the things I learned as a therapist for many years is there is, between helping people and people that want to get helped, this power differential, we call it, right? That there's this power that somebody has who is a counselor, therapist, coach, helper, personal trainer over this person that is coming for help that we need to be aware of. That's why issues like sexual abuse and things like that, and someone dates their clients, is a big issue because of that power differential. And I'm aware of that even in the test drive. So if somebody wants to talk to me, my coaches call me when they want to, when we initiate the test drive. My coaches always call me as part of our coaching process. It's easier for them to remember one number than for me to remember 500. Are they working? Are they home? Is it their spouse's phone? Who's calling me? But they call me, and if they want to talk about the logistics of coaching and how it works, I actually say, okay, let's hang up the phone. I'll call you back, because I want there to be a clear break between their test drive and what they're experiencing as a coach. And now Scott's putting on his salesperson hat and talking to you. And I want to break that power differential. They've called me for help. So I'm like, all right, hang up the phone. I'll call you back, pitch you about my coaching. Or I'll call you tomorrow. I often will say, you think about it for 24 hours and then I'll call you. And the way I look at it is that if I do a decent job, they're going to sign on the bottom line. Dotted line, not the bottom line. Well, the dotted line on the bottom line.
The dotted line.
But if I do a crappy job, they're not going to sign, right? So my demonstration of skills 24 hours later is going to be of benefit to them. And you can actually go, I have and most coaches have a Google My Business page, and you can see review after review of people that are like, I did this test drive with Scott, and I thought he was going to just, hornswoggle me into being his coaching client. It was really free. It was the most helpful thing I ever had. And some people said, I don't need coaching after that. I was stuck here. I'm getting stuck, and I went on my way.
I think, first of all, I love your approach. I love that. Like you said, why would you buy a car? And good analogy, where you didn't even try. You didn't even get in it. You didn't even see, if you feel comfortable in it. Is it for you? And that's what we have to do with coaches, because when you think about it, a coach is not going to be like, one day like, okay, I coach you, we're done. Bye. Nice to know you. Nice to see you. I mean, usually you take on coaches when they're like you said, you're not a life coach, but it's kind of like you're giving part of your life to them, saying, okay, I need this and help me. And more than 1 or 2 time sessions, or 3 or 4. So you have to feel comfortable with that coach. And then, but one thing you did say, which this happens to me too, Scott, where, you give them, because I do the thing too. I do 30 minutes. It's not about me selling no funnels, nothing like that I do. I basically just give them something that that can help them to move that needle, whatever they're doing. And then somebody, oh my God, Barbara, this was great. Now, thank you so much. And then you don't hear that they're like, okay, they're good. They're good to go. And it's like, whoop. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I kind of was thinking that maybe we can continue on this relationship. But, but then, like you said, sometimes it happens where they feel so good that you gave them that because you was just so awesome in what you did. And now they're like, okay, I think I'm good. So with that, just give a little take on that, because like you said, you can tell them something at that time for that 30 minutes, but there's much more.
There is much more. And I think, you just get a shade, just like, when you take a car out for a test drive, you just get a feel for it, right? And on how it is. And you don't know how to work the stereo, connect your phone to the Bluetooth, move the windows, any of those things, right? You know nothing. But it gives you a feel for, okay, this could be a good thing. And so then after that, I ask coaching clients for typically a 4 months commitment on there. And what I tell folks, I don't do contracts. And some coaches are very rigorous about this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have this preemptive conversation with you. And so we're on the same page. And however it works out, it works out. I'm not going to be this kind of, I'm going to, you're going to stay in coaching. And so one thing I do tell clients is that whenever they decide they want to move on, I want a 1 month notice, not I'm stopping. Because I set up automatic billing and, they're going to get charged and all this other stuff. But I tell folks, you know what, I need a 4 month commitment, and it's really, a gentlewoman's or a gentleman's agreement, however you do that. And what I say to them, your first month of coaching, and all you viewers out there should be aware of this if you're looking for a coach. I guarantee this, absolutely. Your first month of coaching will be magical. Magical. Rainbows are going to be coming out your earlobes. You're just going to be like full of such light. You're going to do if your coach said, I want you to run around the building naked, you're probably going to run around the building naked. It's just going to be magical. Magical. My dog, and by the way, I at one point early in my career, I got my dog certified as a coach. So that you want to be aware that, this whole coaching certification thing can be a racket, but that's another story. Wow. So your first month's going to be magical. It's the same dynamic that happens every January 1st at the gyms. Everybody wants to get fit. Everybody makes a New Year's resolution. Everybody's exercising. Everybody's doing jumping jacks. February 1st comes around. Everybody's gone. Right? That's because your first month in college is magical. You're working hard. You're getting all of your assignments done. You haven't figured out where the bars are at. You don't know about parties with the frat house or the sorority house, and there's no keggers and other stuff. You don't even put suntan lotion on because you're out in the library working. But the second semester, third semester, then that becomes the challenge. So your first month is perfect. Your second month is where things go to hell in a handbasket. And your third month is where your coach is going to have to help you turn that stuff around. Right. So I started off, I do all my homework, I do this, and then my real issues start coming up during my second month. My coach will work on that, but really turn the ship to address that by their third month, which you don't see in retrospect until your fourth month. So if you're looking for any coach out there, give them 4 months at least. Because
you gotta go
like
through
I
the
said,
cycle.
the first month's going to be great. Your second month is where the problems are going to come up. And then that's when your third month, when your coach starts to fix those problems. Right?
It's I like how you said that's a cycle. I mean, when you think about it, like you said, oh, I love you, wonderful, I'm learning, blah, blah, blah. Second month, like you said, oh crap, everything is gone.
Right.
What's going on
Right.
here? Like, and then the third month is like all of a sudden now it's like, okay, now we're experiencing. That's where some of that truth comes out, like you were saying earlier. The truth didn't come out with the rainbows at the beginning. I like how you said that. But then the second month is like, okay, well, by the way, Scott, I didn't tell you, I'm a procrastinator and I just hate doing everything. Oh,
or they don't do their work. They don't do their work.
That's so nice to know that in the second month. Thank you so much. Now I know what I need to do as a coach. But yeah, it's so you
Carla was talking about people's resistance, right? In the previous in your previous guest appearance. And the resistance typically doesn't come out until the second month. It gets squashed down because it's someone says, I really need a business plan. I really need to market my business. I need to, and they come up with a plan in collaboration with you and put it in place. And then their second month comes around and they're not following through with it. And you're like, what's going on here? You started off and you're not following. And then, you discover, well, I really don't like this business. Or I really struggle with my time, or I don't have a daily routine, or all kinds of other pieces that get in the way of somebody being able to do the things they identified in their first month. And that's really what the coaching comes down to. The procrastination, the resistance, the vision, the belief system, but you don't see that initially.
No, you don't until you, like you said, you really get into it because they didn't tell you to be. They're just like, okay, and that's where the genius comes at, is you and Carla and the other coaches I bring on and talk to. That's where your genius comes in at, because you already foresee. You don't know exactly what the second month is going to be like, but it's going to happen. It's coming. You prepared, like in the back of your mind, you're like, I knew it was going to happen because this is a cycle. This is a cycle of being a coach.
Right. Somebody joins the gym in January and goes, and then in February their belief systems come in. God, I really miss those Krispy Kreme donuts. Oh my gosh, I just love Ben and Jerry's ice cream. If I really just want to eat pizza, or I just hate exercising, or any of those combinations.
Well, I don't have time for this right now. There's so many other things going
exactly
on.
Right.
It's always, I'm busy. Don't have time. It's funny how we always say how busy we are, but when we have the time to do something for our life to move forward in what we do, we miss out that part. So,
and that's why in exercise land, a health coach is better than a personal trainer, because a personal trainer is going to teach you all the mechanics you need to do to work out and be aware of all the science. And a health coach, who is also a personal trainer, takes that to the next level and focuses on motivation, resistance, counseling, strategies for that second month when you're stuck really bad.
Because it's a life-changing thing that you have to do. It's not just you exercise. That's one portion. I always tell people that's one portion of it. But the bigger picture is how to live and know what to eat and know what goes in your, just different things. You got to know all of that. And then the exercise is a caveat to what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. So
because the reality for any of this, you were talking earlier about what, get a coach. Why is it good to get a coach? The reality for any of this, it's not that people don't know what to do. I mean, people know what to do to run a business. And if you don't, you can get a book on Amazon that tells you what to do. You can go to you can get free information from the Small Business Administration here in the United States that tells you what to do. If you want to lose weight, you know what to do. You know what to do, right? We're not clueless. It's not like it's buried in a box in the middle of the Caribbean on an island and you can't freaking find it. You know what to do. Eat less, exercise more. It's not a secret, right? It's not a lack of information that keeps people stuck where they're stuck. Right? Somebody's an alcoholic and has had their 4th DWI. You know what? They know what to do. Right? Stop drinking.
I said stop drinking. Yeah, I know, Scott. Sometimes I say, okay, we're making things too difficult. I mean, sometimes we put our own, like roadblocks in our own lives. It's like, well, I don't know if I can do this. Well, I tell people, because I'm a purpose coach too. Well, that's what I call a purpose coach. Basically, just really the biggest thing of that is, okay, we're trying to figure out what you really like when you grow up, even that you're grown up, and you still want to know. And they're like, well, I really don't like this. I really don't like that. I said, why are you doing that? I just sometimes just come out and say, why? Let's talk about that, because this is not that difficult now. You made it into this whole collage. And some of us as coaches, we have to move out all that collage, that crap that they put in their face, and just say, okay, this is where we're at. Either this or that. Like you said, Scott, it's not.
Right. And that's where the coaching comes to play, because you need motivation, you need support, you need accountability, you need encouragement, you need to help shift your thoughts around certain things, and a qualified coach or a counselor is going to help you do that. Yeah. And that's really what the coaching. Otherwise, it's it's consulting, right? Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Well, you're being a consultant, not a coach.
Yeah. And then and I'm glad you brought that up real quickly before I give you your 30 seconds. I want to get the last thought. That's a difference between a coach and a consultant. Sometimes people blend that together, and they're different. They're way different. So if you're looking for a coach, it's different than looking for a consultant.
Right. I have got a coaching client. We just wrapped up coaching, and he talked about, he said to me, the best thing about working with you is that I get to talk out things and figure out things. He said, I have somebody else that I work with, and they just give me information and tell me what to do. And I said, a consultant does. It comes and looks at your business, figures out some stuff, they'll turn to you and be like, here's your report. And goodbye. And they leave. And they're like, they don't give a hoot whether you follow their advice or not, because they're doing consulting for the next firm. But a coach is going to help you figure out those dynamics so that you can take it to the next step.
Yeah, way different. Thank you again because a lot of time I talk to people and they always get those two,
even on calls, or when I'm doing a coaching, when I'm talking with somebody, I'll say, I'm going to put on my consultant hat right now and give you some information. I literally say that. And then I say, okay, here you go. I'm putting my coaching hat back on. What do you think of that information? Is it baloney? Is it good? Is it helpful? Where are you going to go? And that's what you're going to get from a person who's a coach, because they're going to ask you questions to reflect on it versus just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Scott, I'm going to take myself down for 30 seconds. I want you to leave anything that, out there for our wonderful audience that's watching you talk about the magnificent stuff that you do as a coach, and I'll be right back.
All right. So what I would tell you is to remember, I mentioned this earlier in this conversation, that I managed to get my dog, I swear to God, a Jack Russell Terrier, certified as a relationship coach, a certified relationship coach. And so buyer beware around all of these credentials of coaching, because if my dog could get certified as a relationship coach, what is it? What's the word for buyer beware? It's not carpe diem. There's another word that says that seize the day. But there's a piece that talks about let the buyer beware, a Latin phrase. And you should be aware of that, because anybody can put on a coaching cap these days and say, hey, I'm a coach. And you don't necessarily know what you're getting.
Wow. I was sitting there laughing when you talk about the dog and being certified as what did you say, as a relationship coach?
It's funny, when I filled out the application and like sent it in, I like put all this, and my dog's name was Compass, so I got a little certificate for Compass to be this, and I put all of these, like, is a really good list. I had to write a recommendation, so I wrote the recommendation for the dog, and I was like, is a real good listener, very attentive, good eye contact,
Oh my God. That is just too funny. I'll have to use that story for people to be like, I know this wonderful coach and his dog's a coach too. Probably much better than some of the coaches we have, right? Because he is attentive. He does listen. He's there. He's encouraging.
Non-judgmental, doesn't give advice, doesn't tell you what to do, is ready to support you with whatever.
I mean, and like you said, especially with the listening part, like, you know how people say, no one listens to what I have to say. Get Compass. He'll do it for you.
And Compass was cheap. You just had to give her kibbles, and she was.
See, you would save money. You need to save money with it. Well, Scott, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the Coaches Lounge with me and discussing your genius and what you do for people. You're just to let you know, just to remind you and encourage you that you are helping so many people get to that next place in their life, especially in their business and in life in general. So thank you so much.
And congratulations to you for offering this opportunity for people to learn about coaches and for other coaches to talk about that. I'm really grateful to see you have this venue out there.
Yes, and we're going to bring you back too, Scott. So you'll be getting another email from me and in the near future to bring you back.
And if you don't want me, you can always have my dog.
You take care. Bye.
When you do nothing, nothing happens. Best time to take action is now. This is the time to work on you and your business. So I've created a group, an online academy for professionals and entrepreneurs. Power Partners will help you to start helping yourself.
Helped me change my life and my business.
Not a Toastmasters, it's not a BNI, it's not any of these, but it is. So it's all this stuff in one place.
Get the results that you deserve right now. So what are you waiting for? Let's make it happen. See you in Power Partners.